Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we will see about what is formal organization, its advantages and disadvantages. The formal organization represents the natural, official type of organization that we have been discussing so far. There has been a deliberate plan on how this organization should look like. There was a deliberate blueprint that was drawn, and the roles were very specifically, carefully created, and then the people would be filled on those roles. So this is an official formal organization. Okay. So whatever that we have been seeing so far, importance, advantages, disadvantages, everything will apply for this particular subtopic as well. So that is formal organization, the actual organization that we have been studying so far. So let us see the advantages first. Easier to fix responsibility because the roles were very carefully created, whether it is a functional structure or a divisional structure. I will exactly know who should be general manager, and above general manager who should be there, and below general manager how many people should be there and who should be there. So I will design at the beginning itself. A general manager might consist of 3 to 4 deputy managers reporting to him or her, and then 2 to 3 general managers might be reporting to the vice president. Like this, I will exactly create hierarchy and set relationship between one people versus the other. Therefore, it is easier to fix responsibility, and I would be able to draw the actual job description for each and every role perfectly. If you are a deputy manager, do things A, B, C, D, E. If you are an executive, do things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can exactly affix responsibility, and the job description can be written very clearly. So that's the first point. Let's talk about the second point, which is unity of command. Unity of command, every organization that builds its structure formally will take into consideration Fayol's principles of management. One of the key principles of Fayol's management techniques is unity of command, which means a subordinate should have only one superior. A superior can have multiple subordinates, but a subordinate must have only one superior. But that means if you are at the bottom level or middle level of the organization, you should be getting orders from only one person, which means a person should not have two bosses. So if you have two bosses, then it will be a lot of confusion inside a work environment, because you will not know which boss's orders you should execute, because both the bosses will naturally give you orders. If a person is boss, they will naturally give you orders, and if you receive two orders from two different people, you will be in trouble as to prioritize which person's orders first. So this is another advantage of formal organization. There will always be the structure designed in such a way that one subordinate gets only one superior. Let's talk about the third advantage, which is provides stability to the organization. Let me give you an example, the diagram that we saw a couple of days ago. The top diagram is the example of functional structure, and the bottom one is the example of a divisional structure. Both are examples of formal type of organization. If you look at this, it gives me a sense of control. It shows order. That means a company will be divided based on function. Every function will be headed by a vice president, and then beneath the vice president there will be a general manager or a couple of general managers, and beneath every general manager there will be deputy manager, and then the hierarchy goes smoothly till it reaches the final stage, which is the assistant. This shows a clear order, a clear line of communication, and that will give me a clear sense of stability to the organization. I will tell you why. Because if tomorrow an officer decides to resign his post and leaves the company, the senior officer will exactly know the officer beneath him is resigning and he has to refill this position. Let's say a finance officer is resigning. So the senior officer who is monitoring the actual officer will report to executive HR or deputy manager HR and say that I need one extra person to be replaced in this position. Therefore, the DM HR or GM HR and GM Finance will discuss, and they will call for new interviews, and they will shortlist a list of candidates, and finally one person will be appointed to replace the resigned person. This means even if there are a bunch of people who are leaving the organization, because the organization is already structured this way, the people beneath or above will definitely know that who is leaving the position, and that particular position should be refilled as soon as possible. Therefore, the stability of the organization will always be maintained. Okay, now let us talk about the disadvantages of formal organization. Formal organization may lead to procedural delays. We should see some organizations until 30-40 years ago did not used to have a parallel flow of communication. I have already explained this while teaching scalar chain form of command, while explaining Fayol's management theory. Let's say an executive of marketing wants data from executive of finance. It has to go from executive to DM to GM to VP finance to GM to DM to executive finance. And again, it has to go back, the reply has to go back, and finally, it has to cross 7-8 people to reach this executive marketing back. That long it used to take for a small, simple line of communication. These days, in modern forms of organization, they have cut this need for longer line of communication, and they have drawn a parallel form of communication, that means enabling executive of marketing to directly be able to contact executive of finance. If you are of the same level in the hierarchy, then you will be able to communicate laterally as well. So this is the modern improvement. But again, the disadvantage that we are talking about is procedural delay. In a formal type of organization, apart from the time it takes to communicate, it is also that everything has to be done by a certain procedure. You cannot just like that introduce a policy. You cannot just like that introduce a program. Let's say the company wants to shift from a 6-day work week company to a 5-day work week company. It has to get approval from all the divisional heads or functional heads. Because if the organization just like that suddenly converts into 6 to 5, then these vice presidents will lose 1 day of productivity, and a lot of work backlogs will start to accumulate. So the people at the top has to plan for all those reduction in work time by the employees, new reduction in work time by the employees. So it will naturally take a lot of discussion. Every round of debate will happen. Then meeting after meeting after meeting, it will keep on going, and who knows, it might even become 5 to 6 months before the company actually implements the new plan. So that's how it works, formal organization. And next thing is, may not encourage creative talent due to bureaucracy. Exactly the point which I just said. In formal type of organization, a work has to be done in that particular way. You will not get a room for creativity, budget for creativity in especially old organizations, like the companies that have lived for more than 50-60 years. The people at the general manager level, deputy manager level would already be 55 to 65, 70 years old. They will be nearing retirement. And those people will not be so welcoming creative talent, a new way of doing things. Let's think differently. Let's put on a creator's hat. They will not try to do those things. They will focus on efficiency, and they will focus on cost savings. And they will say, we have been doing this for the last 40 years in this way only. Don't try to reinvent the wheel here. Don't try to get too creative. Sometimes, some ways it is good, but sometimes it will again lead to people not thinking creatively, and they feel discouraged about coming up with new type of solution. So that is another disadvantage. That's with the formal organization.